Howie Roseman just proved, once again, that while every other general manager in the NFL is playing checkers, he is playing chess. And this time, he made his move right in the middle of draft night, stunning the entire league with a trade that nobody saw coming. The Philadelphia Eagles woke up on Friday morning as a completely different defensive team than they were 24 hours earlier. And the man at the center of this blockbuster, a Pro Bowl pass rusher with 38 career sacks who, just a few months ago, was lining up for the wrong team. But first, if you're a die-hard Eagles fan, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now, because Howie Roseman is not done, and I am going to keep you ahead of every single move he makes this offseason. Here is what went down. Toward the end of the second round of the 2026 NFL Draft, ESPN's Adam Schefter broke the news that the Eagles had swung a blockbuster deal with the Minnesota Vikings for pass rusher Jonathan Greenard. The terms: Philadelphia sends a third-round pick this year and a third-round pick in 2027 to Minnesota in exchange for Greenard. But Schefter did not stop there. He immediately followed up with a second piece of information that made the whole thing even more explosive. The Eagles had already reached an agreement with Greenard on a brand new 4-year, $100 million contract. This was not a rental. This was not a one-year flyer. Howie Roseman walked into draft night and came out of it with a long-term starter on the defensive line locked in before the ink was even dry on the trade. Now here is the part of this story that nobody is talking about enough, because the backstory of how the Vikings ended up moving Greenard reveals just how calculated Roseman's timing really was. Minnesota was carrying a $23.3 million cap hit on Greenard for 2026. His production in 2025 dropped sharply. Just 3 sacks in 12 games before landing on injured reserve with a shoulder injury that required surgery. The Vikings were quietly shopping him, trying to find a way to clear that cap space without taking a public relations hit. The talks had reportedly lost steam at various points. Teams were nervous about the shoulder. Teams were nervous about the dip in production. Roseman waited. He let the market get cold, let other potential suitors walk away, and then struck at the exact moment Minnesota needed a deal most. During the draft, when the Vikings were burning cap space on their draft picks and needed financial flexibility. 2 third-round picks for a player on a $100 million contract is a steal, and Roseman knew it. Let's talk about who Jonathan Greenard is at his best, because the resume when healthy is genuinely terrifying for opposing quarterbacks. Greenard is 28 years old, stands 6'3", and weighs 259 pounds. He came out of the University of Florida as a third-round pick by the Houston Texans in the 2020 draft. Over 4 seasons in Houston, he posted 23 sacks. In 2023, he exploded for 12.5 sacks, one of the best individual seasons for any pass rusher in the league that year, making him one of only 4 players to have 4 multi-sack games in a single season. That production landed him a 4-year, $76 million deal with the Vikings in free agency. He then went to Minnesota and did it again. 12 sacks in 2024, 18 tackles for loss, 4 forced fumbles, and 22 quarterback hits. He was named to his first Pro Bowl and was the only player in the entire NFL that season to post at least 12 sacks and 4 forced fumbles. Back-to-back 12 sacks seasons. That is the player the Eagles are betting on getting back. 2025 season complicates the picture, and it would be dishonest not to address it directly. Greenard played 12 games and recorded just 3 sacks. His shoulder injury, which required surgery, cut his year short. His PFF pass rush grade of 77.6 in 2025 actually ranked 18th among 115 qualified edged defenders, respectable, not dominant. His overall grade of 74.2 ranked 31st at the position. The pressure numbers dropped to 47 total pressures for the season. None of that looks like the Greenard, who terrorized quarterbacks for back-to-back seasons before the injury. The question every Eagles fan needs to sit with honestly is this: is the shoulder going to affect him in 2026, or was 2025 simply a lost year due to injury that the real Greenard is ready to bounce back from? At 28 years old, the physical prime of a pass rusher, the upside on a healthy Greenard is enormous. What makes the fit in Philadelphia so compelling from a schematic standpoint is Vic Fangio's system, and what it demands from edge rushers. Fangio has historically gotten elite production out of pass rushers by using them in creative ways, stunts, delayed blitzes, one-on-one matchup exploitation, rather than simply sending them on a straight bull rush every snap. Greenard's game is built on first-step quickness, counter moves, and the ability to win in one-on-one situations. The Athletics' Alec Lewis specifically noted that Greenard's skill set is a strong fit with Vic Fangio's defensive coordinator philosophy. Pair that with what is already on the interior of the Eagles' defensive line, Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis clogging up the middle and forcing guards and centers to commit to stopping the run, and Greenard suddenly has more one-on-one opportunities on the outside than he has ever had at any point in his NFL career. That interior pressure creates the exterior opportunity. That is how pass rush defenses are built, and the Eagles now have the pieces to run it at an elite level. The context of why the Eagles needed Greenard this badly is equally important. In free agency this offseason, Philadelphia lost Jalen Phillips to the Carolina Panthers on a 4-year, $120 million deal. Phillips had been one of the best young pass rushers in the game before his own injury history complicated things. His departure left a massive void on the edge. Nolan Smith Jr. and Jalex Hunt were the names being thrown around as the answers, two players with upside but without the established track record of consistent double-digit sack production. By bringing in Greenard on a long-term deal, Roseman upgraded that position from potential to proven, and he did it for 2 third-round picks. When you compare that price tag to what Phillips got in free agency, $120 million, and no draft compensation coming back, the value Roseman extracted here is staggering. The broader context of draft night is also worth stepping back to appreciate, because Roseman did not just make the Greenard trade. Moments before the news broke, the Eagles drafted Vanderbilt tight end Eli Stowers with the 54th overall pick in the 2nd round. Stowers was the top tight end in college football by receiving yards in 2025, 769 receiving yards, 62 receptions, and 4 touchdowns in a season that cemented his status as a legitimate NFL prospect. Over 3 college seasons, he totaled 146 receptions, 1,746 receptions, alleged Tamstasicho Lapsapand. Dallas Goedert remains the unquestioned starter at tight end for Philadelphia, but Stowers gives the offense a genuine developmental option at TE2. And in Kevin Patullo's new offensive system, creative tight end usage could become a signature feature. In the span of one day, the Eagles added Mekhi Lemon at number 20 overall, Eli Stowers at 54, and then Jonathan Greenard via trade. That is an elite draft haul by any measure. Taking a step back, what this trade reveals about Howie Roseman's approach to building a roster is worth internalizing, because he does the same thing over and over again, and teams still cannot stop him. He identifies players who are undervalued because of injury or a down year. He waits for the market to cool. He swoops in at the exact right moment and pays a price that reflects the risk rather than the ceiling. Jalen Carter fell in the 2023 draft because of off-field concerns. Roseman grabbed him and got an all-pro defensive tackle. Now Greenard falls because of a down year and a shoulder surgery. Roseman grabs him and potentially gets a Pro Bowl pass rusher for 2 third-round picks. The formula is repeatable precisely because most organizations are too scared to bet on upside. Roseman bets on it every single time. With Jonathan Greenard now locked in on a 4-year, $100 million deal, lining up alongside Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith Jr., and Jalex Hunt, the question I want your take on is this. Do you think the Eagles' pass rush is now good enough to make another deep playoff run? And was giving up 2 third-round picks a fair price to get Greenard? Drop your answer in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back with all the latest Eagles news.